Welcome back to Nick's Keto Kitchen. Today I'm coming to you with a new recipe that I have never tried. It's something I stumbled across online, and I think I'm going to do it for the first time with you here on camera. So here is our double layer chocolate cake. Okay, so I got all my ingredients here. Since I've never done this recipe, I have my computer up with the recipe right here. And because we're going to do this in 2 layers, I'm doubling what the recipe says as it says, and I'm going to put it into my pans and bake it. So first thing I did, 350-degree oven. Now I will say the only variation I'm going to make in this whole recipe is instead of an 8-inch pan, I'm using a 9-inch pan. So I'm going to watch my cook times very carefully. So I'm going to take, this is 3 cups of almond flour. That's double the 1.5 it asked for. Half a cup of cocoa powder, 4 tablespoons of Dutch cocoa, a little bit redder from what I understand, a little bit different taste. I actually have never cooked with it, so we'll see. Then 4.5 teaspoons of baking powder, teaspoon of salt, and a 2/3 of a cup of, this is almond milk. It says milk of choice. And I'll do 3 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now we're going to add 2/3 cup of our granulated sweetener and 6 eggs. And that's everything is double the original recipe here. And we're going to mix it all really well. Now this is all coming together in what looks very much like cake batter. So this is a really good sign so far. Just gonna do as good a job as I can, get all the cocoa integrated, get this as smooth as I can. It's coming together pretty clump free. And there's the oven all preheated and ready to go. And it really smells like cake batter too. So here are my 2 cake pans. I'm going to try to make this as even as possible since I'll be baking them together. Now I think me using this extra wide pan here is going to create for some shallower layers, but I'm okay with that. We'll see how much these plump up. They do have a lot of eggs and a fair bit of baking powder, so hopefully it settles together well. And I did grease these pans very well in addition to them being non-stick, so hopefully they also pop out very well. Okay, so there we are. Now, according to the recipe, it says bake for 14 minutes on the center rack. I'm going to start checking this at 10 and check for all the usual stuff using a toothpick to make sure that it's baked all the way through. And we'll go from there. Okay, well, now the cake is doing its thing. I'm going to make up the icing. This is another one that was recommended with the recipe, and it's a cream cheese based icing, so we're going to just go from there. So we'll start with a whole 8-ounce brick of cream cheese at room temperature, as well as a 1/4 cup of butter, also at room temperature, half a cup of cocoa powder. This is the optional 2 ounces of melted chocolate. Optional, but why not? More chocolate's better, right? And I happen to have a 2-ounce block just sitting there waiting to be used. And we're going to go for 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And here's the funny one. Is it says between 1.5 and 3 cups of powdered sugar or equivalent, and between 2 and 4 tablespoons of milk. So I didn't pre-measure that out. I'm going to start by whipping this up, then I'm going to start adding in the powdered monk fruit and then a little bit of almond milk, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I got a bit of a icing consistency going, so I'm going to start with my 1.5 cups, the minimum, what they say for icing for the confectioner's sugar. And then 2 tablespoons of almond milk, also the minimum. And then I'll do a little tasting and I'll do a little consistency check and see what we like. Now this is a thick icing, but it looks pretty good. Let's do the official taste test here. Tastes pretty good too. The only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually add the last couple of tablespoons of almond milk and thin it out a little. It's a bit thick. It'll make icing these cakes difficult. Okay, one last taste test here. I think I made some good icing. It's fluffy, it's chocolatey, it's tasty. It's thin enough that I think I'll be able to spread on here. So now the cakes are out of the oven, but I have to let them cool completely. Then we're going to ice them, and maybe we'll even eat some. Okay, so my cakes have completely cooled down now. I have my icing, and let's make some cake. Now, I can't say that I'm much of a cake decorator. That's really my wife's forte, but I know how to smear some icing on some stuff. Try to make it tasty here. Okay, so here is our iced cake. And I'll say the icing was a little bit thick, but it seemed to go on pretty well. Again, I'm not a cake decorator. It's not my profession. I may have been able to blend it a little better. There's a little bits of chunks of cocoa in there, but I don't think that's going to affect much of the taste here. And the size seems to be pretty good. Let's cut into it and see what we think of the taste. Now, as you may remember, I've mentioned in the past that just almond flour on its own I don't feel usually has enough structure, but we'll see how this comes together here. That's pretty tasty. I'm going to admit right now, the consistency is just about what I would expect. It actually holds together better than I expect with something with no coconut flour, or something that absorbs a bit better. Probably because of a lot of eggs that are in there. It's a little bit grainy. It's very rich. It's got a very dark chocolate flavor, as you would with something this much cocoa powder. But it's still a really good combination. The icing really blends it together well. Nice layer in the middle. It's a good combination. I would probably make this cake again, and probably will once I finish eating this which may be today if my wife doesn't beat me to it. Now, there have been some requests, specifically one, Ron, this is for you. I know people really want to see me eating more, so I'm going to just sit here and eat cake for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Nick's Keto Kitchen. If you have any requests, if you want me to try out any recipes for you, let me know. And until then, enjoy cooking.